This is a HeadGum podcast.
Hello, hello. This is Fake the Nation, where we talk about news, we talk about culture, and where we separate the signal from the noise. We separate our whites from our reds. We separate spring color palettes from summer, and where we provide a distinction between needless fear and optimism. Folks, I am your host, Negin Farsad, and I've done the beginning of this kind of administration before, because this has been a long-lasting podcast. And this time it hits different, so we'll talk about that in our political segment, along with the ins and outs of the inauguration, the pardons, and the shitcoins. We'll also talk about the inexplicable rise of the Noodle boys, and finally, the app that lets homebuyers get a grasp on their neighbors. Today, folks, what a delightful all Los Angeles panel we have assembled for you today. We have joining us for the first time. It's so exciting to meet her. She is a writer, an author, a craft influencer, a comedian, and I'm really, really excited for our upcoming podcast. It's called Talk Girl. It's launching in February. You should immediately be subscribing for this upcoming, what is, I'm sure, a wondrous affair. It is the incredible Sam Reece. Hey, Sam.
Hello. Hi. So happy to be here.
Oh, so happy you made it. And we are also joined by veteran of the show. You know him. You love him. He's a writer, a podcaster. You've heard him on Jordan Jesse Go, on Free with Ads. He's a beloved Fake the Nation alum. It is the incredible Jordan Morris. Hey, Jordan.
Hey, glad to be a veteran and an alum. Oh my gosh, I'm like legitimately touched. Thank you. I love being described that way. Oh my gosh.
I mean, of course. How else would you be described at this
I don't know.
point?
This is fun. It's like a baby and an elder.
Yeah. And
Nice.
and Andrew, our wise producer Andrew probably paired you thusly on purpose. You know what I mean?
I'll show you the ropes, kid. You're all fresh-faced, but once you done Fake the Nation a bunch of times, you'll learn that it's not all goofs and japes.
I'm an open book. Thank you.
Right. But before we get into the show, I just want to remind listeners that they can go to patreon.com/NeginFarsad to support the show with a mere $4 a month. You get 2 bonus episodes of the show every month. And then there's other levels beyond that. And then there's a little feature on Patreon where you could just pay a lump sum. And then you still get those things, but it's like a discounted lump sum just at the start of the year. And then you don't have to worry about it. You don't have to get a thing every month. And it's just less annoying. And it's like I said, it's discounted, it's cheaper. Because I do come at a discount. So that's the truth about me and this service I provide called Fake the Nation. All right, let's get into it with topic number 1. Okay. Skinny dudes like Timothée Chalamet are the new sex symbol. And he's not the only one. There's Dominic Sessa from The Holdovers. There's Finn Wolford from Stranger Things. There's others. We all saw this happening before the New York Times decided to call them the Noodle Boys for their lanky features that suggested a lack of gym membership. But someone please explain to me, and Sam, I'm looking at you as a girl.
Sure.
Can you explain the rise of this particular hot dude in American culture?
So I will just add a caveat that as a girl lesbian, it's been an interesting thing to watch. My first thought is theater boy's been doing it for a while.
Yeah.
And
These guys have all auditioned for the Music Man at some point in their lives.
they have a Music Man body, exactly.
They've all smoked a clove cigarette at a cast party.
Yes, and they've slept with more women than you could ever imagine. And I believe some of them have also been described as rat face boys.
That's what I wanted to know. There's so many boys to keep track of
There's a
these
lot
days.
of boys, yeah.
I wanted to hear y'all's take on the difference between Rat Boy v Noodle Boy, because I think there's some overlap, and I'm personally kind of not clear on the difference. So I'd love some distinction.
But doesn't Rat Boy, I mean, it feels so rude as a resident of the city of New York. Anything rat adjacent is insulting.
Well, I think as someone from New York, rat is a positive. I'm gonna say I'm pro rat.
You're taking it back.
I'm taking
Okay,
back
you're
rat.
taking
Yeah.
it back.
I think actually Timothy Chalamet may be the middle of the Venn diagram of rat and Noodle, because a rat boy I think can have a sturdy body,
Right.
you know, but a
Right.
Noodle boy cannot. He
There's
must fly
some
away in the wind.
thick, chonky rats out there. There's some significant.
Exactly. There's some rat kings.
Some
Just
rat
several
Wait,
rat boys tied
is
by the
is
tail.
Jeremy Allen White within the rat realm?
Yes, exactly, and he's pretty sturdy to me.
Oh, he's significantly sturdy.
Yeah.
But by the way, I mean, I'm sure this poster board was in very many cities. But if you were in New York City, the Calvin Klein underwear ad was very prominently displayed, especially on Houston. And there was like this way where where his junk was very much eye level, even though it was like 10 stories high, but it was very much just like at 5'4" where I stand.
Yeah.
And then and it didn't matter where I was in the city, I could always see it. You know what I mean?
Like the
This
Mona
one
Lisa
billboard.
looking at you.
Like the Mona Lisa looking at me.
Yeah.
And I really, but before the billboard, I understood the Jeremy Allen White craze. But at the point of the billboard, I really fully was ensconced in it, in a way that I was just like, let's all gather, you know. And by the way, and I mean that for all genders and sexual orientations. It's
Let's
funny.
all gather.
Let's.
Yeah, we could. I think we could all appreciate a beautiful rat.
Yes.
Yes,
That's
yes.
what unites us as a people.
But I mean, so I guess the question for this current
right.
rat / noodle craze class
The class of noodles.
is that, like, is it perhaps like a blowback on the manosphere? Like, we've been awash in manosphere, especially during the election season, and perhaps we're just like, you know what, we'll take a lanky king.
You know what I think kind of part of it could be is that I think when men are super buff, they're working for the manosphere, if you will. It's for each other, right? They're like, I gotta impress the boys.
Yeah.
And when you're a noodle boy, you're for no one. You're just a noodle in the wind. Whoever's there to enjoy it.
Sure, you're there to support your local NPR station.
Exactly.
Yeah,
the tote bag.
Yeah, you totally have. You could fit in the tote bag. You actually sleep inside an NPR tote bag with your little sleeping cap.
They famously advertise them as Timothy Chalamet sized tote bags.
You could fit a Chalamet and some kale from the farmer's market in here. Yeah, I think with your jacked manosphere dudes, like, I can totally see the appeal of the noodle boy, because you like don't have to hear about their intense CrossFit regime, right? Like, you don't have to hear about their intense CrossFit regimen and their like diet. You just have to like hear about their ranking of their favorite Belle and Sebastian albums.
But I also think that Chalamet, isn't he a sports person?
I don't know. Well,
Let's Andrew.
I bet
he plays Quidditch. I bet he and his friends will sit on brooms and play Quidditch in the park.
I believe there's like viral footage of him at sports events being a person who understands sports. And I think that's I don't know about the other guys, if they have a sports thing about them as well, but I know that Chalamet's particular brand of noodle is that that noodle can dunk or something.
That's a good shirt.
But I feel like that's part of it, is that like he's like, oh no, I am a spectator. And I think that's kind of cute.
That to me says when you're not in the manosphere, you can have hobbies. You can have interests.
Right. Because you're not chugging protein powder all day. You can get out there and attend events and have friends.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I feel like Chris Pratt was maybe the last straw of it. What do you think about that?
Oh yeah.
Oh, but and this last straw would have been broken like 10 years ago.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's been
This is a
broken way
very delayed
longer than we
reaction
thought.
to that straw, but
The
okay.
New York Times is just catching up. I
Okay.
think the noodles have been around for a while. No, I think like the I guess he was never a noodle boy, but he was a funny guy who then, buffed up. And that happened to a couple comedians
Right.
who
So
came
Yeah.
I
buff.
have in my notes Paul Rudd question mark,
Oh
Ooh.
yeah.
right? Because he was a class of individual that I believe was like a nerd who was like cute. And then I don't know, did he became buff, right? Because he was like sexiest man alive or something. Did he buff
Yeah,
up
I don't
significantly?
think he's Pratt buff. I don't think he
No,
got that, but I think, if you're going to be in a Marvel, you got to, you got to
do
look good
something.
when you're changing into the suit.
You're taking
Um,
a half a scoop of creatine at the
right.
very least.
Yes.
And I
Right.
I really like that we're celebrating a lot of different kinds of male bodies with this. And I support all my noodle boys out there, but as a little bit of a thicker guy, when are we going to move on to dumpling boys, right?
Dumpling boy.
And I
Oh,
hate to
in New
throw a
York
new boy
Times.
into the mix because there's so many
Yeah.
boys already, but as a man who looks like he contains a little bit of soup inside him.
It's funny because like two of my very good friends cannot be more into dumpling guys.
Oh,
Like
okay.
they like love a beard and a belly and like all that stuff. They like talk about it
Yeah. Well,
aggressively.
dip
So
me
I
dip me
do
in a little chili crisp because here I
I
am.
do feel like your moment is just around the corner,
Listen, Jordan,
especially
yeah.
if my friends have anything to do with controlling the cultural narrative.
You're one viral TikTok away from the New York Times writing sort of like
Yeah.
a new article stating their new stance on boys. So
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Get ready, the hot new boy in 2025.
Jordan Morris. You just need a
Yeah, I love
lookalike
it.
contest in
Oh,
Washington
yeah.
Square Park.
I did
and
do
then
very
you're
well in a
fucking
Zach
golden.
Galifianakis lookalike contest.
Oh my
so-
God.
Oh,
That's right.
congratulations.
That's
Thank
right.
you. Thank you. I killed it. That.
All right, folks, let's take a quick break. And when we come back, we'll discuss less noodly topics. And we are back and we're ready for topic number 2. Folks, we're going to dig into the entire world of politics. And it's going to feel a little schizophrenic because the last 2 days, guys, we have a new president. So that's a psych headline.
Oh, cool. Who?
Oh, yeah.
And,
Somebody cool?
Literally.
Oh, I'm a big news guy.
Literally, I feel like it is news because I tried to get friends of mine to watch the inauguration with me. Everyone's like, no thanks. Like nobody. And then I went and had coffee after and just like running into people and stuff and being like, did you watch it? People like, no. And like, I don't know a single human being that has consumed a minute of this inauguration.
I'm part of that group, I have to
Okay.
admit. Yeah.
I know.
So-
I honestly kind of boned up on this stuff to talk about it on the
Today.
podcast.
No, and that's absolutely
We
fair.
crammed inauguration for you.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Exactly. So yeah, past couple days I'm doing a lot of Taskmaster, a lot of Great British Bake Off, a lot
Yeah.
of comforting British
Yes.
things.
Great choices.
Thank
Yeah,
you,
I
thank
mean,
you.
absolutely. I'm very happy that you both chose that for
Nothing's
yourselves.
messed up over there, so
Well, I
just
mean, I feel
checking out a
like
country where everything's going great.
it's different this time. For me, I don't know. I think it's because that feeling you have when you're going somewhere for the first time and you're like deeply looking at your Google Maps and you're just like, oh wait, where do I turn right? Oh wait, it's coming up. Oh no, it's not coming up. And it feels like it takes forever to get there. And then when you go back, it's like feels very quick because you
Yeah,
already
yeah.
did it. Okay, that's how I feel.
Good analogy. Good analogy.
Okay,
that,
thank
yeah.
you. Starting off the year strong analogies, new shitty president. So, so that's how I'm doing. It wasn't the entire the inauguration didn't feel like new information. It didn't feel like that shocking. Like, you know what I mean? It felt like just a redo. And also now that we kind of, yes, he's like more organized and all that stuff, so he could possibly do more harm. He could also just do the similar levels of harm.
Mhm.
And then things change every 2 years. So anyways, so just to point out, I feel like there's a sort of kind of zen way of handling it if you want to get on board.
It kind of reminds me of the Fast and Furious movies where like you watch another one and it's exactly the same as the previous 9. You're like,
and and the Trump administration, all about family too, right?
Exactly. They're gonna fix the families in this nation. So
totally
bring back families. Yeah. There's crossover.
The fun thing about that is I just pretended like I've ever seen a Fast and Furious movie.
Oh,
so
it was convincing.
I was like, oh my God, yes, it's totally like about, yes.
Well, the formula is like, there's bad guy, secret government agency reaches out to Vin Diesel and is like, we need you one last time.
Oh, right, right.
I'll do it, but for my family. And then they blow up millions of dollars worth of property. And then in the end, they're like, you did it. And he's like, I'm never going to do it again because I'm back with my family. And then the next one starts and they're like, hey, we need you
one. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, so now
That's
I don't
all you
actually
need
ever
to
have
know.
to see them.
Negin, you've just saved yourself 30 hours.
Ooh, truly.
Of Fast and Furious
Thank you so much,
movies.
Sam. I knew we needed you on this podcast for a reason.
Anytime.
Go do something fun with that time.
So we're gonna play a little
like watch
game.
all the Taken movies.
Like keep watch the inauguration over and over again.
Oh yeah, geez.
Okay, we're gonna play a little game to start off this segment called "Important or Unimportant," which I feel like is the game we'll be playing for 4 years. So, important or unimportant, and then we'll break it down after. So, question number 1: important or unimportant? Biden's last-minute pardons of family, January 6th committee members, Fauci, Mark Milley, and others. Was that important or unimportant?
I thought this was important because I just learned about a lot of Bidens that I didn't know existed. It's like, Hunter, I've heard of Hunter, but it's like Tex Biden and Corky Biden, Michelangelo, Donatello, Leonardo, Raphael Biden. There's just all these Bidens who are getting pardons. And something that I thought was wild that I had not even considered till I read the article you sent us about this is that like, he's pardoning people who aren't accused of anything just because he like is afraid.
Well, none of them are accused of anything.
Yeah, it's just like who might Trump go after, and like, some of the folks were even like, "Don't pardon me because it makes it look like I've done something wrong." Like Adam Schiff is like, "Don't do it," and I'm like, Adam Schiff, this is a new bad boy image for you, like.
I got this.
What did I do? Who knows? I don't know. Could have been something. Could have been nothing.
Yeah.
Now he has this like mystique about him. Like, what's he done? I say run with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like the Barbara Streisand effect.
Yes.
If you point it out, or if you're trying not to point it out, more people are going to be interested in what happened. I guess I would say it felt, I'll take the opposite stance. Oh, I didn't have coffee. Wait. I will say unimportant because it just feels like a bunch of kids making up rules on a board game.
Okay.
I mean, it probably is important, but it just feels like everyone's making up rules. Right. And every time we start the game, it's like, well, I am excused from any bad things, and I'm just going to write it down, and it's true.
And no tag backs, double treasonies.
This one I think is, I think it's a middle potentially important because like, I think it's just like, a sign of the times, and then I don't think, theoretically we won't see presidents do this in the future. Hopefully it's just a thing we're seeing now. These kind of blanket pardons for no reason. And then we hopefully, once we're beyond the Trump era, we will not see this kind of thing again. And then it'll just be like this unimportant thing that happened this one time. You know what I mean? That's how I'm kind of like looking at it.
Would love that.
On his way out this time, Trump's going to pardon Wario, Thanos, Pennywise the Clown, all his boys.
Right, all his dudes. Okay, so here's another one. Elon Musk possibly doing a Nazi salute during the parties there.
Important. What?
Yeah, Jesus Christ. I know, like, hard to joke about some of this stuff because of how bad it is and dark. Yeah, and it's just like oh my god, I can't believe it, fucking day one. But also just like, and this is a very minor part of this, but something that I hate about him and these guys is the like little stinker routine when they do shit like this. Like, who, me? I was just doing a Roman salute. Like, that shit is so dumb. It's so fucking dorky. They're such dorks, and anyone who likes them should be embarrassed. Like, yeah, not only is it like scary on a big level, but also just like, you fucking dork. You huge, embarrassing dork. It sucks so bad.
Sorry, did you go, Sam?
I just sort of said important and then internally shut down.
Yeah.
Just
Then
like,
went into a fugue state.
yeah.
Can I
Well,
get the severance surgery for the next 4 years?
my God. It's just like, as a Jewish woman, I guess. I no, it's just like fucking crazy, and I guess I'm still just in shock that he did it on a public platform, but not shocked at all. Everything, it's everything all at once is disbelief and absolute, just like, yeah, of course.
So I think this is one of those things that I think it's like he claims that that's not what it was or whatever, and that people who were watching it, well, I didn't see it live when it happened. I just saw the clip, and I was listening to like New York patron saint of New York, Brian Lehrer, who's like a WNYC anchor, and he's just a delight and a beacon of hope and wonder. And he was like, it didn't look like that to him. It just looked like an awkward thing that he did. And so I think there's enough confusion around it that it's not necessarily like definitely a Nazi salute. And even if it was, I'm not even sure if it doesn't change the American condition. So to me, I'm like, we need to focus our energies elsewhere.
Well,
Sure.
for sure, because ultimately it's like the words versus behaviors thing, and they are just showing their ass as Nazis everywhere else in a way. You don't need to do the hand salute.
Yeah. And we might, and we'll get exactly, and we'll talk about this next one, number 3, Trump's January 6th pardons. This may be in some cases more of a Nazi salute.
Exactly. Yes.
Important or unimportant?
Yeah, it depressingly important. I know it stinks that people are now just getting kind of permission to do shit like this. It's really, really crazy. It sucks. And yeah, when you like look at photos from that day and you look at photos of like the people he's pardoning who are wearing like Nazi t-shirts and stuff like that, it really, really sucks. It's so terrible and scary.
Yeah, it really sucks too, because there was a moment where JD Vance said on the like weekend shows or whatever that, oh no, we're not gonna pardon violent criminals, but they literally just did. They commuted the sentence of violent criminals. And it's like, it's also against their kind of like, safety first, anti-criminal, all that position, so it also is just like, does it make sense? It's also not pro cop, like that they always claim to be pro cop. It doesn't feel pro cop. All of that, it just defies
I know.
logic.
Yeah, these were people who were threatening to kill cops, so it's
Yeah.
just like letting them off the hook for that. I'm just so mad I had to see a photo of Q Shaman again. I'm like, good God, like why does this have to be in my brain again? It's so depressing. And yeah, it's so depressing to think about, Q Shaman doing a victory lap.
Now, I will say there are these pardons that have happened in American history, and they've happened for reasons of like kind of in a perverse way maintaining the peace, whether it's like the Whiskey Rebellion or the Civil War pardons or the pardon of Nixon, or you know what I mean. There's pardons that have happened in history that have maybe been gross, but they've happened, you know.
Sure.
And so this is one of those pardons that I'm sort of like, I have to just in my own heart like move on from it as like, okay, it happened, there's nothing I could do about it now, and like I have to just focus on whatever, like on things that I can control, which is like my vote or whatever.
Yeah, sure.
And like local and state elections and stuff like that.
Yeah, totally.
It's
Unfortunately, like one of my third or fourth thoughts when this happened was like, who is going to play all these guys in the Oscar nominated film that will eventually definitely happen about it?
Oh,
And
yeah.
right,
Directed by Mel Gibson.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
which, by the way, none of the Noodle boys.
No, never.
Like the casting of the film is a direct insult to noodleism.
Right. Soundtrack by Kid Rock. It's gonna be all Kid Rock songs, wall to wall.
Right.
Yeah.
But the Village People on the closing credits.
Yeah, but weirdly the Village People. Oh my god.
Wow, didn't know.
Okay, so here's number 4: renaming the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America. Important or unimportant?
It just doesn't feel real.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's more dumb and annoying than this
Yes.
other stuff, and I
Yeah.
think it is part of like, the shit Trump does, in that he distracts with this kind of ridiculous stuff, and then kind of does the bad stuff under cover of night. Although it's not really. I guess he flagrantly does the bad stuff too, but it does seem like this. I'm renaming the Gulfs and taking back Greenland or whatever. This to me seems like just like Trump headline grabbing weirdness, and like the other stuff is the bad important stuff that we need to worry about. Like this sucks and is like part of why he's a sucky guy and an annoying part of American life. But like, yeah, I think the other stuff is the dangerous stuff, and it like sucks that we have to hear about this. And like, yeah, it is, and obviously it has like racist undertones and stuff like that. But, I think that this stuff is the kind of goofball, clickbait stuff that is a little less important than the, treasonous, country destroying stuff.
Right. Yes, couldn't agree more. Wait, where are you at on the Gulf of America, Sam?
I think he could have named it something so much worse, like the Starbucks Frappuccino Stadium of America. Like there could be anything.
The Crypto.com Gulf presented by Dogecoin.
Yeah. Like he was actually showing some restraint.
Yeah, for once. And I think we got lucky with this one in a weird, fucked up way.
Yeah. No, I absolutely agree, Jordan. Like this is like one of those things where it's like we can tweet about it and maybe people and maybe for some people in the base that like for whom this can mean something, it's dumb and meaningless and sure, some sort of formal, I don't even know, the U.S. Department of Cartography, I don't know who handles it, has to change the whatever text on the, I mean, it like truly doesn't matter. And then it changes back like in 4 years when the next, it just like doesn't matter.
Right.
Anyway.
I feel bad for all the good folks at Rand McNally who have to deal with this shit.
Yeah. It just feels very silly. But it does feel like the kind of thing that Trump wants and Steve Bannon want us to waste time on.
Sure.
Like, and that's, so it's like the kind of thing like in going forward, like doing this show where I'm like, oh, I shouldn't, and here we are wasting time on it, but like I shouldn't, like it's an example of like stuff I shouldn't waste time on, because they fucking want me to waste my brain on this shit,
Yeah.
and it's like, you go fuck yourself. I shouldn't do that.
If this was the next bus, we would be nexting it. You know what I
Yes.
mean?
Yes.
Ooh, that's a deep cut.
Yeah.
I love it. And 2000s MTV dating show Next, right? Was that the reference?
Exactly.
Oh boy, if you can slip in a singled out joke at some point,
Yeah, and
I'm gonna
coupled with
lose
that
my
Chris
shit.
Pratt reference of him bulking up from 10 years ago,
Oh
you're
yeah.
really
And my podcast is a Y2K nostalgia podcast. I'm deep in it. Sorry in advance.
Yeah.
okay, so
Hopefully, our next topic is System of a Down.
Spice Girls.
okay, so our final little yes or no is the Trump cryptocurrency. I don't even know what it's called. Anyways, the Trump shit coin. He
Right.
released one, and then I think the day later or hours later, or whatever, Melania released one. Is this important or unimportant?
Yeah, Trump coin for the bros, Melania coin for the lady bros.
Thank
It's
you.
crypto for her.
Mhm.
I know there's that concept of pink tax where like women have to pay more for the same thing. I wonder if the
Right, yeah.
Melania coin is a little bit more
Well,
like
actually, it weirdly, I think, because people ran to buy the Melania coin after the Trump one was released, it ended up devaluing the Trump one somehow or something. Like I didn't, but I have to. This is one of those ones where I just like thought about it conceptually and didn't follow the ups and downs of this fucking obviously valueless currency.
yeah.
But or not even currency, whatever, crypto. But what do you think?
There was a Trump quote about this in an article that I thought was just so like telling and summed him up so perfectly. A reporter asked him about it, and the context was like, "Hey, is this unethical for like a president to have his own currency?" And Trump said something. It was like, "I don't know much about it other than I launched it." He just like he's Krusty the Clown. He is Krusty the Clown who just like puts his fucking name on everything, even if it breaks, even if it's faulty. Yeah, it's like so embarrassing. And I think that like, yeah, it is this, and there's Trump Bibles, there's Trump teddy bears, and it's all this kind of stuff that he signs off on. And yeah, like, of course, this is a crazy scam. Yeah, I don't know if I would be more into it if he was overseeing it more or just signing a paper that Elon Musk told him to. But yeah, it is like, I think this probably falls under the category of like, taking back Greenland is like, yeah, it's a little more headliney, but I think it is indicative of like how he's going to let the tech weirdos run wild and, perhaps tank the economy because they're putting all this real money into fake money. So yeah, maybe a little less important, but also like scary implications.
Mm-hmm.
Sam?
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of like when a huge movie like Wicked comes out and then every company licenses the movie to make products about it. It feels a little bit like that, where yeah, there's like Bibles and teddy bears and candles and crypto. Like it just
I
makes
didn't know there was
sense.
candles.
I'm sure there are.
There's gotta be.
Smells
like McDonald's.
His cologne or McDonald's, sure. Whichever. There's several candle lines, I'm sure. But yeah, it felt like a natural next step in the licensing of his brand because he is again a reality show host who has many products and scams. So
I actually, my take on it is this is maybe the most important of the things we just talked about.
Ooh.
Because crypto is a totally unregulated way of sending and receiving money. It's totally anonymous. You cannot track it. You don't know who, from whence and where it comes and goes. And I think it can easily be used for bribery. And I think where before, people were staying at the Trump International Hotel in Washington D.C. Now I think they can buy themselves some coin and show their gratitude for
Right.
the president that way.
Before
without
Trump was
getting in
just
trouble.
bribing people with frozen steaks. He was just mailing
Yeah.
frozen steaks
Yeah.
to all his cronies, and now
Yeah. Again, I'm not I can picture. I don't know, right? And I don't know. And this is one of those things where it's like, thank God and bless the world of all journalists, funded by actual journalism outfits, institutions like the New York Times and NPR and the Washington Post, which still does incredible work. Thank God for those places, because they have literally a lot of work to do in tracking what happens with this thing. I think like that this thing needs to be tracked within an inch of its life, because to me it seems like it has the biggest capacity for fraud and corruption. It seems like that's the most like dangerous of the list. One thing we didn't talk about, which I don't want to talk about right now because it's just like I don't know what's going to happen, is like the birthright citizenship thing. Obviously he's trying to executive order his way out of birthright citizenship. Spoiler, I have birthright citizenship. Thank you. But I don't know. I mean, obviously states are suing, everyone's suing, blah, 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 blah. So it's like, it's not happening. You know what I mean? Like he can't
Can
get
you just
rid of
start
it.
taping this podcast from international waters?
I know.
Just like go out on a barge or something
Yeah. I'm
and
gonna
live
be like in the Long Island Sound or something, like doing this podcast.
Just hearing lapping water and the microphones at all times.
Oh God, that's by the way, I have seasickness, so that'll be a very interesting situation.
Oh yeah, get yourself some Dramamine, I guess.
Yeah. But we will keep our eye on that, because I just don't know, what that means. Again, it was like an executive order that's like, okay, like you're gonna do that, but that's not what the Constitution says. So that's cute, and we'll see.
I'll fist fight anyone for you.
Thank you. I'm
me.
let everybody
me
know,
too.
actually, that they're both great. I will put you two on my list of people who will be fist fighting in my honor.
The Dumpling Boys got your back.
Yeah. Listen, we will get winded halfway through the fight.
We'll tag in. Yeah,
there you go.
You're like, we won't win any fight, but
no, we won't win.
Unless the prize is juiciest.
Right. Thickest with 2 C's.
All right, folks, let us move on to topic number 3. There's a new real estate platform that lets potential buyers see the political affiliation of their neighbors, as well as other demographic data. The app will launch in Florida and New York City this month. What do you think? Would you use this app if you were going to buy a home and wanted to see who your neighbors voted for in advance?
My first thought was, you don't need an app to know where the Trump voters live, because they love signs.
They love a sign. They love a flag. I love this fantasy world where I'm buying a home. This is a really fun thought exercise. Yeah. I'm like, ooh, okay.
Hey, Sims.
Can I fly too? Neat. But yeah, I mean, it's one of those things that like, it kind of has icky implications a little bit, but I think just like, honestly, for quality of life stuff, it is probably something I would peek at if I wasn't sure. And, I think there are certain things that you don't know about neighbors until you move in, and sometimes it is kind of nice to know that stuff ahead of time. This is very LA, but I have lovely neighbors who I like a lot, but they have hipster chickens. Negin, is this something that happens in New York?
No, but I have a friend in LA with hipster chickens. Go ahead.
Yeah, and I understand being a hipster and wanting to have chickens, fresh eggs, getting close to the land, whatever. But the hipster chickens can be a little annoying in the morning, and if there was an app that just pointed out hipster chickens near me before I rented the place,
right.
That's
like another level of filtering that I feel like the app in its current form does not provide.
Right.
But, yeah.
Does the neighbor have a kid that is learning to play a woodwind instrument?
Right, yeah. Or like maybe you can cross-reference with like how often that person goes to Erewhon or something. Is that maybe something they could figure out?
How many $30 smoothies did this person buy a month?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like first of all, I mean, it's the fun thing is this notion that you even need the app. Like, it's pretty clear. We already have like the problem, I think, with American neighborhoods is that they're already pretty segregated, especially
Sure.
in the big cities. Like, they're segregated by wealth. I mean, that's already very clear. And so we know where the well-heeled live. And we also know where the good schools are. Like, everybody already knows all of those things, app or no app. So I feel like that stuff is already pretty clear. And yeah, I mean, I also just think, man, I just wish everything was more mixed, and and trying to formalize your decisions with an app like this to make it more so that you never see anyone
Mhm.
unlike yourself is even sadder. Like, I am
Yeah.
like, I wish I lived with Trump voters. I honestly do. Now, I get to brag and say that I live with I live in an extremely, extremely mixed income and extraordinarily diverse neighborhood, the East Village, guys. What's up?
Ooh.
And so, like, I feel like I get a lot of benefits from living that way, and my kid gets a lot of benefits from living that way. And I feel like there should be an app for that. Where can you see the least people that are exactly like you?
I
Like,
like
let's turn
that.
this
Yeah.
app on its fucking head and have it be the opposite, you know?
Yeah, I think in New York too, any cab that you take, you kind of get like a new, fresh perspective on truly anything that you've never heard before. That always surprised me. Every cab ride was different.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely. So I mean, it's funny that this is launching in New York because New York is just so neighborhoody. Like, every neighborhood is so clearly defined. It's like, it's almost like you don't need it at all in New York. I mean, I don't know. It's very clear what you're getting. Um,
I
but
almost
I
feel
mean,
like it could
but
be,
Florida might be a different story. I don't really know.
oh, that would be really interesting to see, just even from LA, what Florida is like on that app. But I would use it
Yeah.
for Airbnb. You know what I mean? Like,
Oh,
I
interesting.
had an experience a couple
Okay.
years ago renting an Airbnb in this random town in Pennsylvania, and it didn't occur to us until we were driving up, seeing all of these Trump signs, where I was like, "Oh shit, are we staying at an Airbnb that is like?" This was was this in 2016? It may have been, where I was like, should we have looked into this? And they ended up not being Trump voters, like the only ones on the block, but it was like a concern because they lived on the property as well, and we were just
Yeah,
like a
I
bunch
could
of
see that kind
gals.
of being a safety thing if you are, part of a group that Trump voters might be
Not one
aggressive toward.
around.
Kind of, yeah, not wanting to be in an area like that for sure.
Well, folks, let me know. Would you be using this app, or would you be using its opposite? All right,
Yeah.
folks. Thank you so much for this delightful conversation. That, my friends, is the end of the show.
Aw.
Oh my God. Thank you so much. These last couple of days, also, it was 8 degrees this morning when I woke up in New York City because we're doing what's called a polar vortex. And
How fun for
it's
you!
it's
That's
been
cute and fun and
which
funky.
is why I'm not wearing earrings, which is feels like like truly feels like I came here
Because
naked.
they'll
Like,
freeze to your skull.
Yes, of
yeah,
course.
yeah. So anyway, it's been a weird few days, and what a joy it was to be able to decompress and get it all out of my system with the two of you. And what I really want, actually, first is for Jordan, you to tell us where we should be donating, and I don't know, putting our thoughts into what we should be doing for Los Angeles.
Yeah, I am a resident of beautiful historic Altadena, California, a town that got it really bad during the fires, and yeah, it's a place I love very very much. Yeah, I mean, I think I mentioned the hipster chickens earlier in the show, and indeed there are a lot of creative types in the neighborhood, but it is also a big family neighborhood. It is also a historically Black neighborhood. It is, yeah, a place that has like very, very deep roots and that people love a lot. And I'm really just sorry about what happened to it, and the community spirit around it has been amazing, totally amazing. Way to go, Altadena. Way to go, LA. Like, just such good vibes and good behavior from everybody, and everybody wants to help, and that is really wonderful, and it's helping to make this not as horrible as it could be. And yeah, I'll just mention that I was very lucky, and my place made it out, and I'm coming to you from scenic mom's guest room in Orange County until the power comes back on. And yeah, I'm very, very lucky, and excited to see what's next for Altadena. And yeah, and I think that like there are a lot of places to donate. I think that it's been said that sometimes the donating of the stuff can be a little tough on places, especially when there are so many people who want to donate. So I think if you're looking to send stuff, maybe think about just like making a donation. There are a lot of great organizations that are doing good work. I gave a little bit to the LA Regional Food Bank that is helping people out. And of course, just like if you see a GoFundMe for someone who lost their home, that is a very just like direct way to help somebody out. So yeah, obviously very awesome that people want to give clothes and bottled water and books and stuff like that, and it's all awesome. But yeah, also money is really, really helpful too. So yeah, just like
I mean, I think too, like there's a point where we have to think about the next phase, which is the moving back in and the rebuilding, and that stuff really does require money.
Sure. And yeah, and definitely, insurance and landlords are not always on the up and up. Something that I'm learning firsthand. So yeah, definitely, folks. For folks who are posting like fundraisers and stuff like that, yeah, it's a great place to give. And yeah, I'm actually this is a bit of a craven personal plug that I think actually will do some good that I'll mention. I'm a comics writer occasionally, and I contributed to a really cool anthology called Godzilla versus LA. This is stories about Godzilla landing in LA for the first time. And if you're a fan of the G-Man, you know that he hurts, but he also helps. He can be a savior as well. And the company that's putting out this anthology, IDW, they are giving all of the proceeds to wildfire relief. So it's called Godzilla versus LA. It comes out on April 30th, and you can pre-order it now wherever you get your books. You can pre-order it now at your local comic book store. It is it was a single issue of comics, and yeah, all that profit's going to wildfire relief. So yeah, if you're a comics reader and you have a local shop, pre-order Godzilla versus LA, and that money's going to a good cause.
That's awesome. Yeah. Thank you so much for that. And we will check in with our LA podcasters periodically to see where we should be supporting as the situation advances, because the things will change and progress, I hope. Yeah, so it's a marathon, not a sprint, folks. All right. Now, and Sam, where do people find you?
Well, you can find me at Shitty Craft Club on TikTok or Instagram. That's the craft influencer half of me. Or you can find me at It's Sam Reece. That's my personal one if you like to see pictures of outfits. And yeah, my upcoming podcast, Talk Girl Podcast, is a Y2K comedy nostalgia pod where we dive deep into, growing up as a tween in the early 2000s. So that's where I'll be.
Oh, folks, first of all, love the idea of this podcast and your outfits and your crafts. So subscribe to all of her things, and you know where to find me and all the things that I do. I should mention I'm going to be in Richmond, Virginia for Wait, Don't Tell Me on February 13th, so just like a pre-Valentine's Day little appearance in the city in which my parents were naturalized as citizens. So like it's a little homecoming for me in a weird spiritual sense. So if you're in that area, come out and see that show. It should be a fun one. And then also I'm going to be at San Francisco Sketch Fest January 31st doing fake TED Talk, so that should be a good time. I will be making the case against maternity leave.
Finally, someone has the
someone
courage
had to do it, and I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. And what else? I don't know. Probably other things, or my career is over. It's unclear. So otherwise, I want to thank everyone who makes the show a possibility. That's our wonderful producer, Andrew McGuire. Thanks to Gaby for our theme music. Thanks to everyone at Headgum for making the show a possibility. You can email us at fakethenationpodcast@gmail.com. Don't forget to support us at patreon.com/NeginFarsad. And we will be back in your earballs next week.
That was a HeadGum podcast.